Good morning, freshmen. I'm sorry I'm not live with you again today. I thought I was going to. Hayden was off quarantine as of Saturday, and then things kind of took a downward spiral. I had to take Hayden to urgent care on Saturday. He had fevers that would not go down, and it was just not good time. So we had to take him in there, and we had to do a chest X-ray and do blood work and do all this stuff to make sure basically nothing else was wrong besides COVID. Which good news there isn't, but he still has COVID and he's still now starting to experience symptoms. So that's tough times. But so that's why I'm not live with you today. My hope is that I'm live with you tomorrow because if his fevers don't occur today, he's technically good off quarantine, and then my dad's able to watch him tomorrow. So we'll just have to play by ear and see. But again, I'm always available if you need anything, even if we're not live that day. So anyway, it is Movie Monday, so if you want to watch this, I did attach it to the update that I made for today. Totally optional for you to watch if you want to. Yeah, it's just for fun if you want to do it. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with today's lesson. So at this point, if you don't have your notebook out or you didn't download today's notes, go ahead and do that. Remember, with videos, you can pause and fast forward, or pause and rewind as needed. So do that as you need to. So go ahead and pause while you get that ready, and then press play when you are ready to learn. Okay, so today we're talking about congruent triangles. So we know what the word congruent means, right? It means that, basically it means equal. It means the same measure. We've used that word a lot over the last few months. So it means that they're equal or that they have the same measure, right? Our congruent symbol looks like this. We've used that a lot as well, especially when we're doing parallel lines and all those different kinds of angles. So congruent means it's the same measure. Remember, if we have lines that are congruent, they will have, so let's say we have these two segments. They will have those little hash marks through them, showing that they're the same. If we have angles that are congruent, they'll have little arcs inside that show they are the same. Congruent polygons are polygons which are basically shapes with congruent sides and angles. So if you have two shapes that are basically exactly the same, the sides are the same length, the angles are the same size, then it makes them congruent. So if all the sides were just the same, then it wouldn't work. If all the angles are just the same, then it wouldn't work. So if I do an example of some triangles here, that would mean that, let's say, these angles would match up. And then if I have these angles matching up, remember, so now I have two arcs, that means that those two are congruent. If I have three arcs, that means that these ones would be congruent. And then same thing would go with sides. If I have one hash mark here, I could have one here. If I had two over here, I'd have two over here. If I had three on the bottom, I'd have three on the bottom. So these would be congruent polygons because you can see that all three of the angles between the two shapes are the same. So these are the same, these are the same, these are the same. And then same thing with the sides. All right, so corresponding angles and corresponding sides will be important for today as well. We've talked about the word corresponding back when we did parallel lines, and we talked about how corresponding angles were angles in the same spots or similar spots. So this will be the same thing. So angles in similar spots and sides in similar spots. So for example, let's pretend that those are congruent. So the sides and angles are in the same spot are the ones that look like they're in similar areas. So for example, we can see like this angle and this angle match up on the triangles. And then this angle and this angle match up on the triangles. And then this angle and this angle match up on the triangles. So those are considered corresponding. Okay, so same thing with sides. This little short side and this little short side would match up. This bottom middle side would match up with this bottom middle side. And then this long is called hypotenuse, you remember that word, would match up as well. So they're the ones that match up with each other. And in order for these polygons to be congruent, then the corresponding sides and angles do need to match up with each other and be congruent to each other. So part of what you're doing today is you're just going to be basically kind of filling in the blank. So telling me which matches up with what. So for example, if I talked about angle A here, I would want to know which angle matches up with angle A. So I'd look at the other picture and I'd see which one is in similar spots. So angle D would match up with angle A. Now I'd look at another angle. So I'd look at angle B and I'd say, okay, which one's in the similar spot in the other triangle? And I'd say, oh, it's angle E. Okay, and then the same thing with C down here. So C would match up with F. Now, sometimes it's going to be hard to eyeball it. Let's say the triangles are flipped around, or they're upside down, or they're reflected, things like that. So the other way you can know which ones match up with each other for today's assignment will be to count the number of arcs. So like this one, you can see how there's just one arc here, and there's one arc here. So that's also why they match up. Up on this top one, we'll see there's 2 arcs here. That means it matches up with the other one that has 2 arcs. On the bottom right, this one has 3 arcs, so it'll match up with the other one that has 3 arcs. So basically you just compare the ones that have the same amount of arcs. So if we look at the sides, we would know that this side is going to match up to this side. Partly because we can see they're in the same spot, but mostly because they both have 1 hash mark. So those match up. BC would match up with EF because they both have 2 hash marks. And AC would match up with DF because they both have 3 hash marks. So basically you're just comparing which ones have the same amount of hash marks or the same amount of arcs. So your assignment will be a little bit more like this today, where you're just doing a matching, so you're going to match up which ones match with which, but you'll just fill in the blank. So yours won't have angle signs on Schoology either because it's just not geometry friendly, but you would just fill in the blank. So like here, I'd look at angle J, I'd see, okay, angle J has 3 arcs. So like my other triangle, and I see which one has 3 arcs, and N has 3 arcs, so I'd write N. Angle K is congruent to angle what? So angle K I see has 1 arc here, so I look for the other one that has 1 arc, which would be P. Angle L over here has 2 arcs, so I look for which one has 2 arcs in the other triangle, which would be M. Okay, and then same thing with sides. I just look for the number of hash marks. So JK has 1 hash mark, so the side over here that has 1 hash mark would be PN. Now remember with sides, they can be switched around, so NP would also be acceptable. KL has 2 hash marks here, so my side that has 2 hash marks over here would be MP or PM. And then JL has the 3 hash marks, so over here the 3 hash marks belong to MN or NM. So part of your assignment today is just filling in the blank, so which ones match up with which. The other piece of your assignment is something called a triangle congruency statement. So we can say that entire figures are congruent by making these congruency statements. So just like how we have angle signs and we have segment lines and we have all these different symbols that tell us things, our triangle symbol is literally a triangle. So if you're doing a triangle congruency statement, you write triangle, and then you'd look at the left triangle and you just write those 3 letters in any order that you choose. So let's say I did ABC. Then you'd write the congruent symbol, and then you do the same thing on the right side. Now the left one, it doesn't matter which order they're in, but the right one it does, because it needs to match up with the one you did on the left. So what I mean by that is I went A, B, C. So what I need to do is I need to do first the one that matches up with A. So since A had 1 arc, I would look on my right triangle and say, oh, D has 1 arc, so my D has to go first. Same thing with B, my B is second, so I'd say which one matches up with B. So the B has 2 arcs, so E has 2 arcs, so E has to go second. And then finally C has 3 arcs, so I look at F has 3 arcs, that one has to go third. So again, it doesn't matter which order your first one is in. So like if this one was angle, triangle, I don't know, BAC or something, that'd be fine as long as your second one matches. So I'd have to do B first, so B matches up with E. Then I would do A matches up with D, and then I would do C matches up with F. So your assignment in this aspect will look more like this, where I'll give you the 2 triangles and I'll actually give you the first one. So you just need to tell me which one matches up with that specific one. So again, I just go in order. I look for which one matches up with J, then K, then L. So J has 1 arc, so does P. K has 2 arcs, and so does M. And then L has 3 arcs, and so does N. So this would be my only possible answer because they have to match up. So again, J has to match up with P, K has to match up with M, and L has to match up with N. All right, one final walkthrough. So this one goes RST, so I'd first look at which matches with R. So R is my right angle box, so Y is my right angle box. Then I'd have to do S, so S has one arc, and X has one arc. And then T has two arcs, so Z has two arcs. Okay, that is what you were doing in the other problems on your assignment today. So your assignment is called the Congruent Triangles assignment. You must get 100%. It's 6 questions total with 10 points being how many points you get for it. Make sure you get 10 out of 10 before you stop. Make sure you're letting me know immediately if you, well, let me show you it really quick. So this is what it's going to look like. So your first 2 questions are just going to be you matching. So you just match up A, B, and C with the side. So again, it's not going to have an angle sign in front. It's not going to have a segment line on top. So you just need to pretend like they're there. So I'd say, oh, A has one arc, D has one arc. So I'd type, the answer is D, which in this case is actually D. So that works out. Make sure you're paying attention to the letters and you're not actually just filling in, E and F and stuff like that. It needs to match the letters in the actual column. So A, B, C, D, E, F. Hopefully that's not confusing. I'm so sorry that the letters matched up that way. This one actually maybe makes more sense. So like M, I'd see which one matches with M. So M has one arc, N has one arc, so N is letter B, so I would type in letter B. And then I'd go from there. And then the rest of these, you're just filling in the one that makes sense. So again, it needs to match the one that I picked out. So I picked out I, M, N. So I need to pick out the one that matches specifically I, M, N. So which one matches up with I, M, and N in that order. And that's what your last 4 problems are. So you need to let me know immediately if you need help. So hop on Google Meet and say, Mrs. Milky, can you please help me? And I absolutely will do that for you. And something different today. This is going to be due by the end of class today. Because honestly, I'm really irritated with the people that consistently think they can answer the attendance question and then not do their assignment and just take math class off and do it later. Math class is for math. So obviously you finish early, that's fantastic, but you need to do the attendance question and you need to complete this by the end of class today in order to be counted present for class. If you won't finish in time, like, I don't know, something happens, or maybe you're just really struggling, or I hope by then you would have talked to me, but something's going on and you're not going to finish, then you need to contact me. You need to either message me on Schoology or hop on Google Meet and tell me that you're not going to finish so I know. Don't just assume that I'll figure it out. So if you don't finish by the end of class, you need to tell me immediately so we can work something out. Yeah, if you need me, let me know. Otherwise, bye.